We visited Glacier National Park near Columbia Falls, Montana on 3 different days in the fall of 2019, and this will be a compilation of those 3 days. If you would like to get notices when I post again, be sure to subscribe right here. Just click on that button. The park is a little over 1 million acres, and this is the area that it covers. It was established on May the 11th, 1910, and has approximately 3,000 visitors every single year. It has 700 lakes, but less than 200 have been named, and over 200 waterfalls. It has over 700 miles of hiking trails within it. And in the 1800s, there were 150 glaciers here, but now there are only 37, and many people think in the next 20 years they'll all be gone too. There's only one road through it, the Going to the Sun Road. And now we'll be driving through Montana to get there. And now we're arriving at our destination, East Glacier Park Village. We'll be spending the night here before heading on into Glacier Park, and we'll be staying at the Circle R Motel. Since we arrive a little early, we go out to Glacier Park Hotel to eat. Since we're a little early for supper, we'll look around the hotel waiting for the restaurant to open. This is a fairly old hotel. It was built in 1914 by the Great Northern Railroad. It was built here to try and attract people to come here rather than to Europe, and they designed it as a Swiss chalet and even had the waitresses dress up like Swiss costumes. And then it's time for us to eat. This brings us to the end of day 1, and now we'll begin day 2. On the recommendation of the hotel manager, we'll leave East Glacier National Park, drive to Browning, since there's road construction, drive over to Many Glaciers Hotel. After leaving Many Glaciers, we'll drive over to St. Mary's and catch the Going to the Sun Highway, which will go across Glacier National Park, almost to McDonald Lake. At the Trail of the Cedars, we'll turn around and go back the other way and look at everything from the different direction until we see a grizzly. And then we will head back across and go all the way over to Kalispell, where we'll be spending the night. Thus, we'll pass through the central part of the Going to the Sun Highway 3 different times. This is actually called the Waterton Glacier International Peace Park and World Heritage Site. The northern part in Canada is called Waterton Park, and the southern part is called Glacier, but they operate as one unit, and there's only one highway through the entire thing. This spot is a meeting place for all the ecosystems in the western United States and Canada, as you can see from this picture. The one highway through it is called Going to the Sun Road and goes all the way across it. It's 48.7 miles long and was built in 1919 and hugs the cliffs here as we approach the Continental Divide and runs through the forest along the shoreline on the east and the west. For a large chunk of the time, it's closed due to snow, and they have to clear it each spring so that you can drive on it. It's only open maybe 3 to 4 months out of the entire year. And here's Montana Living showing them clearing the snow, sometimes 30 or 40 feet high on the road. And so early in the morning, we load our luggage into the car and we head out toward Glacier National Park. It's raining when we leave, and here we are going through Browning. This is the capital of the Blackfeet Nation that has their Indian reservation to the east of Glacier, and we'll be crossing it for most of the time we drive till we get to the park. They have some horses here out and walking along the highway. And as you can see, this road is rather long and straight, as many of them are in Montana. And soon we can see the Rocky Mountains that form Glacier National Park. There are lots of low clouds hanging over the mountains, so they are obscured much of the time as we drive towards them. And now we head down Many Glaciers Road toward Many Glaciers Hotel, and it's extremely potholed and very rough road. We will be driving along the Swift Current Creek and Lake Shoreburn as we head to Many Glacier. And now we leave the Blackfoot Nation and enter into Glacier National Park. The roads get better, as you can see. Glacier National Park was formed in 1910, and in 1932 it was joined with Waterton in Canada. When we arrive at Many Glaciers Hotel, we're going to park and look around just a little bit before leaving. This is one of the other Great Northern Railroad hotels that were built to entice people to come here instead of to Europe. And people have been coming here since the early 1900s. As we look around, the mist continues to hang over the mountains around us and giving them a mysterious look. And these vintage vehicles are used to carry people around the park to stop some of the congestion around. They have various stops along the Going to the Sun Highway that you can hop on and hop off. You can also hop on a horse here if you want to. And now it's time to head back out and go to St. Mary. Along the way we pass Lake Sherburne Lake Dam. It's a little low right now, I guess getting ready for the winter snows. Again, the road is rather rough and very, very potholed. And now we speed up a little bit as we drive over to St. Mary. St. Mary is the eastern entrance into the park on the Going to the Sun road. And we'll get gas here before we head into the park. And now it's time to enter the park and to start looking at all the wonderful sights. Although Glacier National Park has much wildlife inside it, its main draw is the scenic views that you will see while here. We will stop at the Visitor Center and look at their little museum and displays about what we'll be seeing before we get back on the road again. The driving parts of this time through, we're going to be speeding up to 10x, and then we'll stop and look at some of the sights along the way. We start out in the lowlands driving along St. Mary Lake. At our next stop, we'll be looking at Triple Divide Peak. For part of the time we're there, it's under the covers of the clouds. And then it comes out, and there it is. This is an extremely important little peak, for all the water that falls on here, the water that falls on one side goes to the Pacific. On another side, it goes over to the Gulf of Mexico, and some goes over to the Hudson Bay. So which place a drop of water falls on this peak determines which direction it's going. Now we stop to take some pictures of Wild Goose Island out in Lake St. Mary. You may have been noticing all the slopes of the mountains that have no trees on them. The trees seem to be burnt. Well, a Reynolds fire burned through here in July 21st, 2015 and destroyed most of the vegetation in this area, and it's still in the process of recovering. We had planned to walk to St. Mary Falls, but the parking lot is so full, we decided to go on and come back a little later and look at it. This is one of the problems you have here in the park. There's very little parking at many places, and there's a lot of people, even now, even if we are after Labor Day. I can't imagine what it would be like during the summer. Next we'll stop at the Jackson Glacier Overlook and look at the only glacier that you can see from the Going to the Sun Highway. and you won't be able to see it much longer. It is melting away rapidly, and it is estimated that there won't be a single glacier in Glacier National Park in another 20 years. And now we're passing Logan Pass Visitor Center. This is the central part of the Going to the Sun Highway. We're not going to stop now. We're coming back here later to look at this tomorrow and to walk a path here. All along the Going to the Sun Highway there are waterfalls, and we're going to stop at several of them. This is a beautiful one we're going to look at now. We're going to eventually end up down there on that road as we leave the park. We're going all the way across. We are not. And now we're down there on that road as we explore McDonald Creek. Notice how clear the water is. It's crystal clear. And also note the different colored rocks that have come from several different rock formations. On down McDonald Creek, we will find Red Rock Falls. And look there, again at that clear water. It's crystal clear and sky blue. Next on our itinerary is to walk the Trail of the Cedars. But first we have to find a parking place. Finally, after 20 minutes, a car pulls out and we have a place to park. There's not really many places to park. I went actually all the way around this thing. This is the route that we will be following, the 0.8 mile round trip on the trail. Part of the trail will be on boardwalks and part of the trail will be on hard-packed dirt. But all of it is handicap accessible. So it's a good trail for us tenderfoots to walk. So let's head on down the trail with Deborah the Explorer. This is an old growth forest and it's made up of 4 different types of plants. First we have the western red cedar. Then we have the western hemlock that grows just about as tall and just about as straight. Next up is the Pacific yew. It doesn't grow quite as tall as the other 2, but gives lots of shade. And then lastly we come to the cottonwood with its wide leaves that gives so much shade along the river and keeps everything cool. So let's head down the trail and look around. Flowing through this area is Avalanche Creek, and we'll look along it some. Finally, we arrive at Avalanche Creek Bridge and our turnaround point. It was built in 1936. On one side, we can see how the river flows away from this area. And on the other side, we see the canyon that is being cut as the creek cuts through the rocks. And now it's time to head back on the other side of the loop. And now we make this a turnaround point as we're heading back eastward now again. We're driving back to Lake St. Mary to see if the parking places around. As we're driving back, we notice many people pointing and looking, trying to figure out what they're looking at. We stop, and it's a grizzly bear, and so we stay a while and watch it up on the side of a hill. Kinda.
Really? I haven't seen him yet.
We pull off to go and look in the Logan's Pass Visitor Center a little bit, driving through it. It's going to be a very scenic place tomorrow when we come back early in the morning to walk the Going to the Hidden Lake Trail. Here we're at the Continental Divide, and this is the Hidden Lake Trail starting. We'll be able to see bighorn sheep maybe, and also mountain goats. And now it's time to head down and out of the park. Soon we're leaving Glacier National Park for the day, out the west entrance. We'll be back in here tomorrow. We pass through West Glacier Village and then head on as we heading
This brings us to the end of day 2, and now we'll begin day 3.
We will leave Kalispell and drive directly to Logan's Pass to try and beat the crowd. Then we'll walk out to Hidden Lake Overlook, drive back to West Glacier, and then down to Goat Lick, and then back to Kalispell for the night. We leave early in the morning from Kalispell because we want to try and get to Logan's Pass before the crowd gets there. It's getting a little foggy as we head out. Soon we'll arrive in West Glacier Park Village and heading into the park. We show my senior park pass, and off we go into the park. As we get higher into the park, we notice that the clouds are in the valleys, and soon they're over the road also. We'll be driving into and out of them for the next little bit as we head to Logan's Pass. It is foggy as we arrive at Logan Pass parking lot, and we thought we'd left early enough to beat the crowd, but the parking lot is already full and people are driving around looking for parking places. It'll take us about 20 minutes to find a place to park. Our main objective here is to take the Hidden Lake Overlook Trail, about 3 miles round trip. It starts behind the Visitor Center. and it's going to be going uphill a whole lot. So let's get started and head out following Deborah the Explorer. It's a boardwalk to begin with to keep you off the fragile environment, and you have to look out for bears here and for mountain goats. We didn't see either one. The main struggle here is going to be the high steps and getting up them. It's going to be extremely taxing. There are steps and then more steps, hundreds of steps, and they're very high, it seems. Eventually, Deborah the Explorer realizes she's not going to make it to the top, so she sends her photographer on ahead to take pictures, and she goes back to the visitor center. Some of the flowers along the way are still blooming. The clouds continue to move up and down in the valleys. Sometimes it's clear and sometimes it's so foggy you can't see very far. Remember that we're walking along the Continental Divide and we're about 8,700 feet above sea level, or about 1 3/4 miles. And the snow is still on the ground here, even months after it has quit snowing. And the trail continues upward, climbing more and more steps. Down there, that's the visitor center, and the clouds continue to rise up out of the valleys below us. And ever upward we go. We haven't reached the peak yet. Along the way, we crossed several streams. Finally, after over an hour of climbing, we reached the peak, and there is a little pond up here. probably fed by snowmelt. But we'll be continuing on past it, for we're going to the Hidden Lake Overlook. Finally, we reached the destination, the Hidden Lake Overlook, and we walk along the boardwalk and down to the overlook to see Hidden Lake, and well, it's hidden by the clouds for over an hour. This is what we should be seeing. Actually, Hidden Lake never becomes unhidden. So we enjoy a few hoary marmots playing around in the rocks and then head back down. Along the way down, we pass a jumble of rocks, and there amongst them are some pika playing around. And as we head down, there's an interesting play of clouds in the valleys and sun shining on the peaks, giving spectacular views. Although we weren't able to see Hidden Lake, it's still worth the travel up just to see the views. As we approach the parking lot, we notice that there's still dozens and dozens of cars driving around in circles looking for a parking place. This is typical in Glacier National Park. Even from the parking lot, it's a spectacular view. And now it's time to head back down. This time in the sun. We climbed up in the fog. One last look at the spectacular views and scenics as we head back down. This will be our last drive through the park. The Weeping Wall is a 100-yard long wall that constantly drips water, like a low-level waterfall all along. They're constantly repairing the roads here, and in fact, the westbound lane will be closed down entirely in just 3 days for repairs and will not reopen until next season, so we're lucky we were here when we are. We'll be stopping at Sacred Dancing Cascades on the McDonald Creek to take some video and pictures before heading on out of the park. Now it's time to leave Glacier National Park for the last time. We drive through the west entrance and out of the park. We drive through West Glacier Village and then take a left and head down to Goat Lick. We're going there to see if maybe we can see some mountain goats. Usually you see them along the Hidden Lake Trail, but for some reason today they weren't out. There is only one road through the entire park, and that's going to the Sun Road we've been on. But there is a road around the southern end of the park, and we're on it right now. To the left is Glacier National Park, and to the right is privately owned lands. And we're heading down to the very southern end of the park to look at a place called Goat Lick. Soon we're arriving in Goat Lick and trying to see if maybe we can see some goats here, but we didn't read the signs very well. They're here during May and April and June, but not now in this late era. There are salt formations here, and the goats come here to lick on them to get their minerals that they need. And sometimes there are 10 or 12 goats along this cliff. So it's time to head back now to Kalisfell for the night.
This is the end of this video.